Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the explosive drama unfolding in Port Charles from October 27th to November 7th, where secrets shatter alliances and shocking revelations turn lives upside down. Fans of the iconic ABC soap, which has captivated audiences since 1963 with its blend of medical intrigue and family feuds in the fictional city of Port Charles, New York, are in for a roller coaster of emotions as long-standing characters navigate betrayal, romance, and high-stakes confrontations. At the heart of these spoilers, Nina Reeves unleashes a cunning and underhanded scheme that could alter the course of several key relationships, while Jason Morgan's tense showdown with Carly Spencer hints at deeper suspicions brewing beneath the surface of their complicated bond. Adding to the chaos, Veronica Ronnie Barr drops a bombshell announcement that leaves the powerful Quartermaine family reeling, potentially reshaping the dynamics of their sprawling mansion and legacy in ways no one saw coming. During the electrifying week of October 27th to 31st, tensions erupt across Port Charles as Laura Collins unleashes a fiery verbal assault on Drew Kane, her words cutting deep into his ambitions and forcing him to confront the shadows of his past decisions that have rippled through the Spencer and Quartermaine circles for decades. Laura, the resilient matriarch known for her unyielding sense of justice since her iconic 1981 wedding to Luke Spencer that drew 30 million viewers, won't hold back as she accuses Drew of overstepping boundaries in his quest for control, perhaps referencing his military history and identity swaps that have haunted the show since the 2010s. Meanwhile, the enigmatic Jen Sidwell slithers into Sonny Corinthos' world, poking at his vulnerabilities with sly comments about his mob empire and personal losses, including the lingering pain from his bipolar struggles that have been a central theme since the 1990s AIDS awareness arcs. Sonny, the brooding kingpin portrayed by Maurice Benard since 1991, finds his patience tested as Jen's provocations stir up old rivalries, possibly alluding to Sonny's explosive history with figures like Jason and the Cassadines, pushing him closer to a breaking point that could unleash Corinthos' family fury. In a heartfelt yet disruptive twist, Trina Robinson interrupts what could have been a tender, intimate exchange between her mother Portia Robinson and the charismatic Isaiah Gannon, her timing shattering the budding connection that hints at new romantic possibilities amid Portia's complicated family ties. Trina, the art-savvy young woman whose storylines often explore themes of identity and forgiveness echoing the show's social issue focus from the 1990s, steps in with concerns drawn from her own experiences with deception and loss, adding layers of generational conflict to the Robinson household dynamics. As the drama intensifies, Jordan Ashford grapples with a moral dilemma, weighing the ethics of revealing Portia's unexpected pregnancy to Curtis Ashford, a secret that could explode their already fragile co-parenting arrangement rooted in Curtis' paralysis recovery arc from recent years. Jordan, the no-nonsense police commissioner with a history of tough calls since her debut in the 2010s, paces the halls of the Port Charles Police Department, her detective instincts clashing with her loyalty to Portia, while flashbacks to Curtis' shooting and rehab might fuel her resolve to protect him from further heartbreak. It seems inevitable that Jordan will confide in Curtis, triggering his explosive rage as he processes the news, his reaction amplified by the raw emotions from his divorce and quest for normalcy. Curtis, ever the resilient entrepreneur behind the Savoy nightclub, begins to piece together the puzzle, eyeing Isaiah as a prime suspect in Portia's affections, leading to a charged standoff where fists might fly and old wounds reopen in a scene reminiscent of the show's classic mob confrontations. Shifting gears to the Corinthos sphere, Jason Morgan initiates a heated face-off with Carly Spencer, his piercing gaze suggesting he senses her brewing a vengeful plot against the shadowy Jack Brennan, whose mysterious agenda has intertwined with Port Charles's Underworld since his introduction. Jason, the loyal enforcer and Steve Hardy's spiritual successor in the hospital's legacy since John Berardino's era, probes Carly with questions about her recent secretive meetings, drawing on their decades-long partnership forged in crises like the 2009 hospital fire. Carly, the fierce businesswoman who co-owns the Metro Court Hotel built on the ashes of the old Port Charles Hotel, deflects with her signature sass, but Jason's instincts, honed from countless betrayals, pick up on her thirst for payback, perhaps tied to Brennan's interference in her custody battles or Sonny's stability. Elsewhere, Anna Devane receives critical intelligence that propels her spy thriller subplot forward, her WSB background shining as she deciphers clues in a dimly lit safe house, much like her adventures in the 1980s with Robert Scorpio. Nina Reeves, driven by fierce maternal protectiveness, stoops to a manipulative ploy on behalf of her daughter Willow Tate, possibly forging documents or spreading rumors to sway opinions in Willow's favor, echoing Nina's own redemption arc from her magazine empire days at Crimson. This dirty tactic could involve anonymous tips to the press, amplifying the stakes as Nina risks her fragile peace with Sonny and the Quartermaines. At General Hospital itself, the corridors buzz with conflict as Britt Westbourne squares off against Elizabeth Baldwin in a battle of wits and wills, their clash stemming from professional jealousies and personal histories intertwined with the hospital's founding by Dr. Steve Hardy in 1963. Britt, the calculating doctor with a villainous past reminiscent of her mother Liesl Albrecht's schemes, accuses Elizabeth of meddling in patient care, while Elizabeth, the steadfast nurse since 1997, counters with evidence of Britt's shortcuts, potentially dragging in Hamilton Finn or Terry Randolph for support. In a parallel domestic storm, Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri ignite a passionate argument that tests their rekindled romance, possibly centering on Rocco Falconeri's well-being or Lulu's journalistic pursuits that tarnish Michael Corinthos' reputation in the media spotlight. Lulu, the feisty reporter whose coma storyline gripped fans in the 2010s, defends her exposé on Michael's ELQ dealings, while Dante, the principled cop son of Olivia Falconeri, worries about the fallout on their son Rocco, evoking the Falconeri family's bar-owning roots at the Floating Rib. Their debate escalates with raised voices in their apartment, hinting at deeper insecurities from Dante's undercover days and Lulu's Cassadine ties. Nathan West enters the fray with a charged confrontation that ends in a chilling ultimatum, his intensity suggesting a rematch with Jack Brennan or a rift with Britt over ethical lines in their shared medical pursuits. Nathan, the late Maxie Jones' husband whose 2015 death storyline broke hearts, returns in ghostly echoes or flashbacks, but here his presence demands accountability, perhaps threatening exposure of Brennan's covert operations linked to the Cassadine Empire. The Quartermaine saga takes a dramatic turn as Ronnie Bard unveils her jaw-dropping declaration, stunning the clan with plans to offload the iconic mansion, maybe to Drew Kane or an outsider, signaling her imminent exit from Port Charles after years of meddling in their fortunes. The Quartermaines, the show's wealthiest family since the 1970s with ELQ Empire at its core, gasp in the opulent living room as Tracy Quartermaine smirks at Ronnie's departure, yet drowns her mansion woes in a haze of scotch, her sharp tongue silenced by grief over lost family artifacts like Edward's portrait. Tracy, portrayed by Jane Elliott since 1978, confides in a rare vulnerable moment to Brooke Lynn, revealing how the property disputes echo the clan's historical feuds with the Spencers. Cody Bell, the rodeo drifter with Quartermaine blood, seeks counsel from a shady lawyer in a backroom meeting, aiming to safeguard Tracy's interests and perhaps claim his own inheritance tied to the late Lila Quartermaine's legacy. Drew Kane faces a devastating setback that overshadows any victory in securing the Quartermaine estate, his joy tempered by Willow Tate's mounting troubles at Pentonville Prison, where whispers of unfair sentencing circulate among inmates. Drew, the Navy SEAL whose twin storyline with Jason revitalized plots in the 2010s, paces ELQ boardrooms, strategizing bail options while Willow, Michael's wife and Nina's daughter, endures harsh conditions that test her resilience from her leukemia battle. Jason surprises Britt with an unexpected ambush in the hospital locker room, catching her mid-scheme before she receives marching orders from Brennan to infiltrate Professor Henry Hank Dalton's cutting-edge research lab, possibly involving experimental serums with ties to Faison's old experiments. Brennan, the enigmatic operative, coerces Britt into this risky alliance with promises of freedom from her past, forcing her to navigate ethical minefields in a plot that nods to the show's science fiction forays of the 1980s. As the week of November 3rd to 7th dawns, alliances shift dramatically with Britt Westbourne crossing paths with Emma Scorpio Drake in a high-tension encounter fueled by their mutual pursuits of Dalton's breakthroughs, sparking an inevitable clash of agendas in a rain-slicked parking garage. Emma, Robin Scorpio's daughter whose teen storylines explored legacy in the 2010s, demands answers from Britt about the research's dangers, their showdown laced with references to Robin's HIV arc and the nurse's ball tradition started in 1994. Anna Devane's relentless investigation into the tangled web connecting Britt, Nathan West, and the villainous Caesar Faison veers into perilous territory, leading her to abandoned Cassadine warehouses where clues about frozen embryos and corporate espionage await. Anna, the glamorous spy since 1985, dodges shadows and deciphers coded files, her pursuit risking exposure to Faison's lingering network that has plagued Port Charles since the 1990s. In a bid to deceive the town, Michael Corinthos and Jacinda Bracken peddle their fabricated romance with convincing public displays at the Metro Court, hand-holding and stolen glances that blur the lines between pretense and genuine sparks. Michael, the ELQ heir whose custody wars defined his youth, finds unexpected chemistry with Jacinda, a newcomer whose mysterious background hints at ties to the Brackens' forgotten feuds, making their charade evolve into whispered late-night confessions under the stars. As Willow's trial date approaches, Alexis Davis meticulously crafts her legal defense, poring over case files in her law office with cups of coffee fueling all-nighters, but unforeseen curveballs like tampered evidence or surprise witnesses threaten to derail everything. Alexis, the fiery attorney and Christina's mother since the 1990s, rallies allies like Diane Miller, questioning if Willow's fate improves with new alibis or worsens under prosecutorial pressure from the DA's office. Harrison Chase steps up to exonerate Willow, delving into shadowy investigations that unearth disturbing secrets about Pentonville's underbelly, shaking his detective resolve and possibly implicating higher-ups in corruption scandals. Chase, the dancer-turned-cop whose romance with Brooke Lynn echoes the show's musical interludes, uncovers forged records in dimly lit archives, his discoveries forcing a re-evaluation of loyalties that could ripple through the PCPD and beyond. Next, we will learn about the dramatic possibility of Nina Reeves finding redemption in her fractured bond with daughter Willow Tate. In the ever-twisting world of Port Charles, where secrets unravel like fragile threads in a tapestry, ABC General Hospital teases a glimmer of hope for Nina Reeves amid her ongoing turmoil with Willow Tate. The once strained mother-daughter connection, built painstakingly over shared vulnerabilities and heartfelt confessions, now teeters on the brink of total collapse following a cascade of betrayals that have left Willow seething with resentment. What began as a tentative reconciliation during Willow's vulnerable cancer battle evolved into a semblance of family unity, only to shatter spectacularly right on the eve of her wedding to Michael Corinthos. That fateful revelation, courtesy of Curtis Ashford's unyielding pursuit of truth, exposed Nina's clandestine affair with Drew Kane, igniting a firestorm of fury that Willow has yet to extinguish. Willow's explosive reactions have since become a hallmark of their interactions, each encounter laced with accusations that cut deeper than any scalpel in the Quartermaine operating room. Nina, ever the impulsive force of nature, has unwittingly fueled the flames time and again, most notably by offering Willow an unsolicited alibi for the night Drew was gunned down in a mysterious ambush. This gesture, intended as protective loyalty, backfired spectacularly when forensic evidence debunked it, painting Nina as a meddlesome liar in Willow's eyes. Compounding the betrayal, Nina's swift acceptance of a plea deal to evade her own legal entanglements, stemming from her insider trading scandal with Drew, only amplified Willow's sense of abandonment, as if her mother's self-preservation trumped their fragile kinship every time. At this juncture, Willow's pleas for distance echo through the corridors of General Hospital like a final verdict, her heart armored against further intrusions from the woman who should be her anchor. Yet, Nina's unyielding desire to bridge the chasm burns brighter than ever. She envisions not just coexistence, but a profound maternal role reborn from the ashes of their discord. In soap opera realms like Port Charles, where fortunes flip on a dime and vendettas dissolve into alliances overnight, the door to mending fences remains cracked open. Consider the recent seismic shift between Christina Corinthos Davis and Ava Jerome, two women once locked in a venomous rivalry over Sonny's affections and custody battles, now forging an unlikely partnership against greater threats, their past grievances buried under layers of mutual necessity. If Firebrand Ava could extend an olive branch to Christina after years of courtroom clashes and whispered threats, then surely Nina and Willow's path to harmony isn't an impossibility, especially with the show's writers renowned for crafting redemptive arcs that surprise even the most jaded fans. Delving deeper into the enigma that could catalyze this turnaround, the unresolved mystery of Drew Kane's shooting looms large, a powder keg primed for explosive revelations. General Hospital's narrative engine thrives on such whodunits, and Nina might emerge as an unlikely hero in unmasking the perpetrator, perhaps drawing on her journalistic instincts honed during her Crimson magazine days. Imagine a subplot where Nina, haunted by guilt over her role in Drew's downfall, collaborates with the spectral guidance of her late husband, Silas Clay, in dream sequences that spur her toward justice, adding a layer of supernatural intrigue to the procedural elements. Teaming up with a resurrected or flashback version of the late detective Nathan West, whose untimely death left unresolved cases in his wake, Nina could embark on a clandestine investigation, sifting through overlooked clues at the floating rib or the dimly lit docks where shadows hide secrets. Their probe might unearth a hidden surveillance tape from the Metro Court, revealing not Willow's involvement as initially suspected, but a shadowy figure tied to the Cassadine legacy, perhaps a vengeful Helena Cassadine operative still pulling strings from beyond the grave. As Nina deciphers coded messages or decodes encrypted files with Nathan's tactical expertise, she uncovers pivotal evidence, a mismatched bullet casing linking the shooter to a forgotten Port Charles Underworld feud involving Sonny's rivals. This breakthrough wouldn't just exonerate Willow from the cloud of suspicion that's darkened her nursing career and family life, it would position Nina as the savior who prioritized her daughter's freedom over personal glory. Picture the tension-filled scene in the PCPD interrogation room, where Nina presents the damning proof to Commissioner Anna Devane, her voice steady despite the tears welling in her eyes, as Willow watches from the shadows, her rigid posture softening ever so slightly. Of course, one heroic act may not erase the ledger of hurts accumulated over months of deception and disappointment, but it plants the seed for gradual thawing. Willow, ever the resilient survivor who battled leukemia with fierce determination, might initially dismiss Nina's efforts as another ploy for sympathy, her trust eroded by memories of hospital betrayals and wedding day humiliations. Yet, in quieter moments, perhaps during a late-night shift at GH where Willow tends to patients while Nina lingers in the waiting area with fresh-baked treats from Kelly's, small gestures could accumulate. Nina could volunteer at the nurses' ball committee, channeling her flair for events into supporting Willow's passions, or share untold stories of her own adoption struggles to mirror Willow's feelings of abandonment, fostering empathy through shared scars. Expanding on this potential evolution, consider how external pressures might accelerate their reconciliation. With Michael grappling with Corintho's empire stresses and Sasha Gilmore's own mental health arcs intersecting, Willow could find herself isolated, craving the maternal support she once rejected. Nina, meanwhile, faces isolation from the Reeves family fallout and her fading ties to Sonny, pushing her to prove her devotion through selfless actions, like anonymously funding Willow's charitable initiatives for cancer research, a nod to her daughter's harrowing journey. These invented layers highlight the soap's thematic depth. Forgiveness isn't a switch flipped, but a mosaic pieced together from vulnerability, sacrifice, and time. As ABC General Hospital spoilers continue to unfold, the horizon for Nina and Willow brims with untapped potential, reminding viewers that in Port Charles, broken bonds can mend stronger than before. Whether through investigative triumphs or heartfelt confrontations in the rain-swept Quartermaine gardens, this duo's story promises the emotional rollercoaster fans crave. Stay tuned, as one pivotal twist could redefine their legacy forever. Next, we dive deep into the intensifying turmoil around Willow Tate's mounting legal woes and how a potential trial could shatter her fragile world in Port Charles. Willow Tate finds herself teetering on the edge of a nightmare as whispers of an impending trial swirl through the corridors of justice, potentially sealing her fate behind the cold bars of Pentonville Prison. Once a beacon of resilience for her family, Willow's recent entanglement in the explosive Drew Kane shooting incident has painted her in a damning light, with prosecutors eager to build a case that ties her directly to the crime scene. Her quiet determination to evade this dark chapter is admirable, yet the mounting evidence and relentless scrutiny suggest her hopes may crumble under the weight of suspicion. In the shadowy underbelly of General Hospital's drama, Willow's past decisions are resurfacing like ghosts, threatening to drag her deeper into a vortex of accusations that no amount of charm or loyalty can dispel. As fans hold their breath, the question lingers: can Willow summon the inner strength to navigate this storm, or will the system's unyielding grip prove too much for even the most steadfast survivor? Harrison Chase, the dedicated detective with a heart as true as his badge, refuses to stand idly by while Willow's life hangs in the balance, vowing to unearth every lead that could exonerate her from these grave charges. Chase's investigation intensifies with each passing hour, as he pores over timelines, interviews shadowy witnesses, and chases down elusive clues that might reveal a hidden perpetrator pulling strings from the shadows. His personal stake in Willow's plight adds a layer of emotional fire to his pursuit. After all, their shared history in Port Charles has woven threads of trust and unspoken affection that fuel his resolve. Yet, despite his sharp instincts and unwavering commitment, Chase faces formidable roadblocks: corrupt alliances within the police force and tampered records that obscure the truth. Imagine Chase staking out forgotten corners of the Quartermaine estate late into the night, piecing together fragments of surveillance that could rewrite the narrative, only to hit dead ends that test his faith in the badge he wears so proudly. If his efforts falter, Willow's reliance on Chase's breakthrough could evaporate, leaving her exposed and vulnerable in a battle she never sought. Should Willow's case barrel toward a full-blown courtroom showdown, she'll need the razor-sharp expertise of Alexis Davis, the formidable legal eagle whose courtroom prowess has turned the tide in countless Port Charles sagas, to champion her innocence before a skeptical jury. Alexis, with her encyclopedic knowledge of criminal law and a reputation for dismantling prosecution arguments like a master strategist, steps into the fray armed with Willow's compelling backstory of redemption and sacrifice. From her days as a nurse battling leukemia to her role as a devoted mother, Willow's narrative offers Alexis fertile ground to humanize her client, painting a portrait of a woman far removed from the cold-blooded shooter the DA portrays. However, the path to victory is riddled with unforeseen pitfalls, biased jurors swayed by tabloid headlines, surprise testimonies from Quartermaine insiders, and procedural maneuvers designed to trip up even the most seasoned defender. Picture Alexis cross-examining key witnesses with surgical precision, exposing inconsistencies that unravel the prosecution's web, yet grappling with explosive rebuttals that force her to improvise on the fly. In this high-stakes arena, Alexis's success hinges not just on facts, but on evoking empathy for Willow's turbulent journey through love, loss, and the unforgiving spotlight of Port Charles society. Delving into the gripping events of General Hospital's October 23 episode, Michael Corinthos emerges as a force of calculated vengeance, methodically persuading Harrison Chase that Willow's history of covert intrusions into the Quartermaine mansion grants her unparalleled access to the weapon in question. Michael's confrontation unfolds in a tense, dimly lit corner of the PCPD station, where he lays out a timeline of Willow's previous uninvited visits, each one a calculated risk that now boomerangs back with devastating force. His voice steady but laced with betrayal, Michael recounts how Willow's familiarity with the estate's blind spots and security lapses made it child's play for her to slip in undetected, snatching the gun that altered Drew's destiny forever. This revelation strikes at the heart of Chase's doubts, planting seeds of uncertainty that bloom into a reluctant acknowledgement of Willow's potential involvement. As Michael paces, his eyes flashing with the pain of fractured family bonds, he doesn't stop at mere speculation. He demands Chase revisit old case files, highlighting overlooked patterns in Willow's movements that align suspiciously with the stalking timeline. This pivotal exchange not only escalates the drama but underscores Michael's transformation from grieving son to relentless accuser, willing to sacrifice alliances for the pursuit of justice. At the core of Michael's crusade lies his bold accusation that Willow orchestrated a sinister stalking campaign under the alias Daisy Gilmore, a shadowy figure whose anonymous threats terrorized the Quartermaine household and sowed chaos in equal measure. Though Chase initially dismisses these claims as the ramblings of a man consumed by grief, lacking the concrete proof needed to sway a jury, Michael's conviction burns bright, fueled by fragmented memories and gut instincts honed from years of navigating Port Charles's treacherous waters. Envision Daisy Gilmore not as a distant phantom, but as Willow's alter ego, born from desperation and a twisted need for control amid her crumbling personal life. Her messages, laced with intimate details only an insider could know, now serve as Michael's ammunition in this verbal showdown. Chase's skepticism stems from the absence of digital trails or eyewitness accounts tying Willow to the persona, but Michael's persistence chips away at that armor, urging a deeper probe into encrypted emails and disguised phone calls that might bridge the gap. This accusation adds a psychological thriller element to the saga, transforming Willow from victim to villain in Michael's eyes and setting the stage for a revelation that could redefine loyalties across the canvas. As the trial looms on the horizon, Michael Corinthos stands poised to unleash an arsenal of damning evidence that could torpedo Willow's defense, turning whispers into thunderous condemnations in the packed courtroom. Speculation runs rife that traffic camera footage from the Quartermaine vicinity, grainy yet incriminating, might capture Willow's vehicle idling suspiciously near the estate during peak stalking hours, her silhouette unmistakable against the backdrop of autumn leaves. Should this visual proof fall short, perhaps a long-forgotten nanny cam hidden in the nursery by a vigilant household staffer captures Willow's furtive entry, microphone picking up hushed whispers that betray her intent. Invent a twist. What if this device, installed during a baby-proofing frenzy years ago, records not just her presence but a fleeting admission to a confidant about her Daisy deceptions, timestamped to perfection? Michael's legal team, bolstered by private investigators scouring dark web forums for Daisy's digital footprint, could unearth anonymous posts traced back to Willow's IP address, each one a breadcrumb leading to her door. These layered revelations wouldn't merely implicate her. They'd weave a tapestry of premeditation, portraying Willow as a master of disguise whose criminal forays into the Q mansion extended far beyond the gun theft, tainting her every alibi with suspicion. The courtroom could erupt into pandemonium if Willow takes the stand, her composure cracking under Michael's piercing testimony that meticulously reconstructs the stalker saga from cryptic notes to midnight intrusions. Michael's words, delivered with the gravitas of a man scorned, would detail the fear that gripped the Quartermaine clan, nights of barricaded doors and whispered suspicions, framing Willow as the architect of their terror. Under Alexis's guidance, Willow might counter with tales of her own vulnerabilities, but the pressure cooker of cross-examination could coax an unintended confession, her words tumbling out in a flood of regret and rage. Imagine the scene, lights glaring, jury leaning forward as Willow stammers through denials, only for a slip, perhaps invoking Daisy's name in a moment of panic, to confirm Michael's narrative and seal her unraveling. This high-wire act of testimony amplifies the stakes, blending emotional rawness with legal brinkmanship, where one faltered phrase could cascade into a guilty verdict, forever altering Willow's path from healer to convict. Compounding Willow's perils, any substantiated proof of her clandestine entries into the Quartermaine residence for illicit purposes would cast a long shadow over her involvement in the Drew Kane shooting, morphing isolated incidents into a pattern of deceitful behavior. Evidence of repeated trespassing, perhaps boot prints matching Willow's shoes in the garden soil or fibers from her clothing snagged on a fence, paints her as a habitual boundary crosser, eroding the jury's trust in her denials. This revelation strikes at the heart of the gun theft charge, suggesting Willow's access was no fluke but a calculated breach enabled by her insider knowledge of the mansion's vulnerabilities. In a deeper layer, it exposes fractures in the Corinthos-Quartermaine alliance, with Michael viewing these intrusions as personal betrayals that justify his unyielding pursuit. The DA could exploit this to argue motive. Willow's resentment toward Drew, stemming from family rivalries and unspoken grudges, drove her to arm herself for confrontation. Such details not only bolster the prosecution but invite scrutiny of Willow's psychological state, potentially summoning expert witnesses to dissect her actions through the lens of obsession and instability. Has Willow's entanglement in the Daisy Gilmore stalking saga inadvertently forged the chains of her own downfall, transforming a desperate bid for influence into the noose tightening around her neck? This shadowy chapter, once dismissed as a peripheral threat, now reverberates through the trial, intertwining with the Drew Kane shooting to amplify the prosecution's assault on her character. Fans speculate wildly, did Willow's fixation on Daisy stem from a warped desire to protect her loved ones, or was it a vengeful outlet for deeper insecurities rooted in her adoption secrets and marital strains? As these threads unravel, the courtroom becomes a theater of reckoning, where Willow's past sins collide with present perils, forcing confrontations that expose raw nerves and hidden agendas. The fallout could ripple outward, straining her bonds with Jocelyn and the Corinthos clan, while galvanizing Michael's resolve to see justice served at any cost. In the ever-twisting tapestry of ABC General Hospital, Willow Tate braces for a deluge of misfortunes that promise to test her spirit like never before, with the shadows of trial and betrayal closing in relentlessly. No matter the twists ahead, be it a last-minute ally emerging from the Quartermaine ranks or a bombshell disclosure from an unlikely source, the path forward brims with peril, ensuring Port Charles remains a hotbed of suspense and heartbreak. Stay tuned as these spoilers unfold, revealing how Willow's fight for freedom could redefine the very essence of loyalty and redemption in this iconic soap opera universe.